Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are doing 3 versions of beans and rice that will be so easy on your budget and also very delicious. All right, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome, come on in, make yourselves comfortable. I love to cook, I love to save money, and I especially love it when it's also convenient. So if you like that kind of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Today we are doing beans and rice because, first of all, anytime you watch a budget food video, or even in your head if you heard it growing up, we always sort of fall back on beans and rice as being the default, lowest budget meal. And for a good reason. First of all, it's shelf stable. Most types of beans you can get either in a can or dried in a bag. And rice also just comes in a bag and it's good for a super long time. Both of those things are always in the affordable category, some of the cheapest items you can find at the store. And they also offer some great nutritional value. Beans and rice in many different forms are found in almost every single culture as a staple of their diets. So it's definitely something that I think all people can kind of identify with. Now, in your head, you might have an idea of what the struggle meal beans and rice looks like, but I thought I would share with you 3 different versions of beans and rice that are great for your budget and actually totally delicious. So let's get started with the first recipe. All right, recipe number 1 is for bean and rice soup. I am using this can of black beans as my bean, and I'm using this bag of white rice. This is the rice I'm going to be using for all my recipes today. This bag was less than $2 at Aldi. I've also got a pouch of taco seasoning. This was 29 cents. I have a jar of salsa. Pick your favorite type. I picked a mild one. It was $1.29. I have a can of corn, 50 cents. And I also have some chicken broth. This was $1.29, but you could use water if you're really on a budget. So this is the simplest thing ever. I'm putting 1 cup of rice. Well, I'm gonna rinse it first, but I'm gonna throw it in my pot. To that, I'm adding my can of corn with the liquid inside. Then I'm going to add my can of black beans, but we're gonna drain those because I am so just absolutely put off by the liquid that comes with black beans. And now I've got my jar of salsa. You could use fresh salsa, you could use whatever's on sale. It comes more expensive, it also comes cheaper. But it will really affect the way our soup turns out. So whatever your favorite style, use that one. And a pouch of taco seasoning. This is low sodium, but you could use, regular. I always keep tons of these in the pantry because honestly, they're good for tons of stuff. And now I'm throwing in 2 cups of broth. Now, I'm starting with 2 cups, and obviously the rice is going to absorb a lot of that. So depending on how thick you want it, just keep an eye on it. It takes about 25 minutes until your rice gets, cooked all the way through. And I just kept an eye on it. I just kept adding a little bit of liquid. If you want it to be really thick and more like a chili, you definitely don't have to add more. The texture, the consistency, that's up to you. Mine was just kind of in the middle, I suppose. And honestly, that's it. It is so simple and easy and so filling. And this only cost a couple dollars, and that pot is huge. I am choosing to top mine with a little bit of cheese. You could also throw a little bit of sour cream on there. It would be super good. I also think this would be delicious with cornbread. And you can get them Jiffy mixes for super, super cheap. Some corn muffins with this would be delicious. Moving on to our next recipe, we've got that same old bag of white rice. And for this recipe, our bean of choice is garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas. Super affordable, love the texture, and also very versatile. I always keep these in my cupboard. I've also got a little bit of olive oil I gotta use up. I have a red onion, but you could also use a white or yellow onion, whatever onion you got around. I also have a lemon here, but you don't have to use a fresh one. If it's not in your budget, just keep some lemon juice in your fridge and use that as needed. I also have salt. I have a bit of feta. This is extra. You don't have to use feta if you don't want to, and I have chives as well, but I had it in the fridge, so I am going to use them. The first thing I'm going to do is cut up my red onion. I'm just going to slice it, and I'm only using half of it today. Now, I prefer a red onion in this recipe just because it's a bit sweeter, but you know, use what's available, use what's on sale. And now I'm going to throw that into my olive oil and just kind of stir it around till it gets nice and fragrant, a little translucent, and like a little brown. I kind of like it to have a little bit of crispness. Next, I'm going to add my chickpeas, but first I am going to drain them. And really, I just want these to get a little bit toasted. They don't need to be cooked all the way through or anything. And actually, this is going to be chilled, but I do like the flavor that the toastiness kind of brings to it. I'm also going to throw in some salt in there. And then I am going to put it in a separate bowl so I can chill it in my refrigerator. But before that, I'm just going to throw the juice of half a lemon on top. You could eat this warm. It's still delicious. However, I like it cold. Next, we're going to do something a little weird. Does this feel like an episode of Chopped? Yes, it does. But stay with me. We are going to make rice flour out of this rice. Rice is so versatile. Don't think it has to be cooked the same way every time. I just threw mine in my Ninja, and this isn't like a super crazy, awesome food processor, so it didn't get super powdery. It's more like cornmeal, and honestly, I've made this a ton of times for lots of different things, and it's really good. I don't measure anything. I just take some water and I stir it in until it becomes like a pancake batter. Not too thin, but you know, not chunky either. So sorry I can't give you exact measurements here, but you know, you'll know when it's right. It looks like that. I also just added in a little bit of that lemon juice. And now I'm going to fry these. And you know, you might think, okay, is it going to be like a pancake? But the answer is no. It gets crispy because it's rice, and it's so flippin' good. It's like somewhere between a corn tortilla and like a rice cake. And anyway, it's really good. And you might be thinking that this is kind of a stretch and kind of weird, but you know, don't knock it till you try it. So now it's time to serve. I keep the rice cakes kind of warm, and then I put the cold chickpea salad on top. And obviously this is delicious just how it is. The feta cheese that I'm using is from Aldi. It's only a couple bucks. It's a great deal, but I have scored feta cheese from Dollar Tree as well. And the great thing about feta is that it has so much flavor, you don't need like a whole ton for it to really make a difference. So, and of course, you know, throw a little greenery on there, make it all beautiful. And I'm so serious, you guys, this is the most delicious meal, and it's super filling. Those chickpeas will fill you up so fast. And yeah, the salty, crunchy tortilla / rice cake situation is so good. Gianni kind of ate it like a tostada, but you know, use a fork, use your hands, do whatever feels good. And my last recipe is one of my favorites. This is something I've made a million times and is just an absolute classic in my household. I'm using the same rice, and we're using lentils. I know lentils are like technically not a bean, but you get the picture. And this is all about the spices. We've got cumin, lemon pepper. Don't sleep on the lemon pepper, man. And that was on sale at Walmart for $1. I also have onion powder and garlic powder. Those two are from Dollar Tree, and some salt. I'm also gonna make a simple flatbread out of just flour, oil, and water. It's so easy and extremely affordable. And the first thing I'm gonna do, I've just got half a cup of rice and half a cup of my lentils. I rinsed them, and all you need to remember, depending on how many people you're cooking for, with rice, your ratio is 2-to-1 for water, and with lentils, it's 3-to-1. So you could adapt this for, you know, however many people you're cooking for, but I will leave all these instructions down below. You bring it to a boil, you simmer it for 25 minutes. Like, that's literally all you do. And the spices, I just mix ahead of time, and it's just a teaspoon of each of those things. It is so simple and easy, and seriously, when I discovered lemon pepper, I just started putting it in everything. It changed my life. And I'm just gonna mix that up and set it aside. And then while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and make my flatbreads. This is a basic tortilla recipe. We got 2 cups of flour, which is super affordable at Aldi. It's less than $2 for 5 pounds. I've also got 3/4 of a cup of water, couple of shakes of salt, and 3 tablespoons of oil. Use, whatever oil is most affordable, what you have on hand. I'm using olive because that's what I had. And you just make it into a shaggy little dough. If you don't want to do all of this, you could just buy some flatbreads or some tortillas. But if you are really trying to save some money, you can make so many tortillas out of a $2 5-pound thing of flour. So I'm cutting them into 8 pieces. You don't need to let these rest or rise. There's no yeast. You just, knead it until it's soft and then roll them out. Now, if you have like a tortilla press, you could get really fancy with this, but I don't. So I just use a rolling pin, and they're never perfectly round. They're kind of more of a rustic bread, but they do the job. So yeah, I just put them on a hot pan and they cook in literal seconds. This is the fastest thing to make. And they look so beautiful, and like people, my husband especially, is just like always impressed when I whip these out. He'll be like, "You made these?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's really not that hard. Don't tell him. And yeah, they look quite nice when you're done, and you could get creative with these and add other spices to the dough. And now here is our lentil and rice. Is it beautiful? No, it's like a bowl of mush, but it's delicious, I promise, especially once you add your spices. I always do a little drizzle of olive oil because olive oil tastes amazing, and to just kind of moisten it up a little bit because that's a lot of spices to throw in there. But that's where all of our flavor is really coming from. Lentils and rice kind of don't have a ton of their own flavor, so the spices is really the name of the game in this recipe. And because of the time of year, we do have some veggies from the garden. We love topping this with a bit of cucumbers and some tomatoes. And honestly, my husband and I were talking while we were eating this that this is such a nostalgic flavor for us because way back in the day when we were really tight on money, we had this meal all the time. This was like a staple in our household. And even now when we eat it, it makes us like, feel good. It's a nostalgic, cheap recipe. I hope you really try this one. Out of all of them, try this one. I love it. I truly love it. All right, you guys, there were my take on beans and rice. Leave me a comment down below. Are you gonna try any of these? Do you have a go-to beans and rice style meal? Leave me a comment down below. Tell everyone about it so we can all get more ideas of how to eat more beans and rice. Of course, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.